Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we celebrate Women's Month. We thought that as women, we go through a lot, and also we're just speaking before the session started and just thinking about a lot of things that are happening, with the COVID pandemic that's taking place all over the world. Many of us have experienced loss due to this pandemic, and also in our personal lives, we're going through a lot. And we thought that today we can just do something different, just to take our minds off, and also just to share tips of how we can cope with this and everything that's going on. Tips and tricks and notes of how to do self-care in these challenging times. So today we'll be focusing on self-care tactics, focusing on the mental, the physical, and the emotional side. We have Angela and Tshepo, who will be sharing what they know. Angela will be focusing on mental and emotional well-being, and Tshepo will be taking us through a few yoga moves to help us manage the tensions and the work stress, especially those of us who are working from home and are desk bound, and just some breathing techniques to help us deal with those anxious moments that we're going through each and every day. Not each and every day, hopefully, but now and again when we experience anxious moments. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and I hope that you'll find this session informative and useful, and that you'll take away some nuggets of and back pocket tips that you can use throughout your days. Thank you.
I think also, ladies, if you have any questions, any comments, please just type them and leave them in our chat box, and we will get our two speakers to answer them or address them. And maybe we can even have a little bit of a discussion around some key self-care points as we go through the session. So, Angela, do you want to kick off?
Up to you. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this thing. Good afternoon, ladies. I am so excited to be part of this conversation this afternoon. So my name is Angela, and I am the director at Positive Switch Consulting. And I think over the past while, everybody I've interacted with, we've ended up talking about self-care, whether it's in the form of mental or emotional wellness, but it's just really been a key feature. And I think I've been fortunate enough to work with organizations that have really put their people in the forefront, to just try and help where they can and support them in terms of whatever is happening. So I want to ask a question. So we were having a bit of a side conversation before everybody signed on. I want to know, is it just me, or has this COVID-19 pandemic really, really affected and changed most things for everyone? So please, you're welcome to put in the chat box. Let's have the conversation, and we're going to talk about those not so comfortable things. We were talking earlier about crying and its place in everything that's happening. Nikki was talking about how she cries. And the other day I had a really ugly cry, and I didn't understand where it came from. It was completely unrelated with whatever was happening, but it was the most relieving thing ever. It was magical. So I don't know if anybody else here has something that they want to share in terms of their crying moment. Crying is not always a sign of weakness. There's value, there's benefit to it. Has anybody had an experience recently where they've just broken down, and for whatever reason, maybe it aligns to something specific, you can pinpoint it to something, but you've just felt the release? Anybody who wants to share? Come on. Don't be shy.
Anyone brave enough to tell us a story? Otherwise, we're just going to have to pick a Nikki.
Kim from Chonox. I can share my experience.
Yes.
Actually, it was last week. It was just like the burden of everything, trying to be a good wife, trying to be a good employee, trying to be a good daughter, trying to be a good mom. It's like, it was everything. Just, and I've lost so many people due to COVID as well. It was just like everything just got to me. And I was busy cooking actually. And then the tears just started coming. I was just started to think about everybody and just the burden of everything. And it was like, and so much better afterwards. And I read it somewhere. It was almost as if, you know, when your emotions are too heavy for your heart, it finds an outlet through your eyes.
Yeah.
So, and I felt so much better after just that cry. But then I heard my husband and my son coming home, and I quickly just composed myself, and I was back to super mom again. And yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Kim. I think it's so powerful what you share, because we all experience it in different ways. And I see Sharon in the chat is saying, I mean, absolutely, breaking down, and you wish it was crying, but it was just an anger outburst over something silly. Guys, we are human, and we just need to just be a little bit kind to ourselves, right? So, I mean, over the past 16 or so months, things have changed. We have a completely new normal. We've had to figure out how to survive during this time. We've had to figure out how to protect our families, what kind of vitamins to take so that we are in the best of shapes if we do get the virus and all of that. And some of us have also lost loved ones, and it's really, really taken a toll on us. So of course we're going to be overwhelmed, you know, but I actually I just want to think about over the past year, some of the roles that we've had to play as ladies, whether at home, whether at work, but I think most of it is going to be at home because that's where it gets exciting, right? This COVID pandemic has effectively redesigned what we used to know as work-life balance, yeah? Because now that you've brought work to your household, I'm sure some of us are being reprimanded to say, now it's creeping, your working hours are starting to creep into home time. At what point do you stop? So we need to be in a position where we are able to kind of regulate and go, hold on, what are these new boundaries? How do I enforce them and still do what I need to do, you know? So it's introduced a hybrid way of working. Some of us have become teachers overnight. And I feel like I just need to take a moment and just pause because, wow, I have always had respect for teachers, but this time has really, really given me a newfound respect for teachers. I don't know how they do it. So ladies, I want us to take a quick poll, and this is how it's going to work. You're going to type, hold, and release, right? You're going to type your answer in the chat facility of this recording. And then when I say release, if you can just release them into the chat box. So for those of us who have been promoted to new and exciting roles at home or in the workplace, can you just share some of your new, let's call it job titles, or these new creative things that we've ended up having to do? And I'll remind you a little bit, at some point, the restaurants were closed and we all went crazy and started making everything and anything. So are you ready, ladies? So type, yeah, and hold, and then go ahead and release. Let's just see what are some of those titles. Teacher, driver, geography and French teacher, counselor, new mom, congratulations. Teacher again, chief paratameka. Did I say that right? Did I? Yes, yes, chef. Okay. My life simplified. Actually, I discarded a role. Okay, which role? Which role? Which role? Adult. Yeah, I don't quite enjoy that role. Okay? This one of being an adult. Biryani queen. Nothing new, Mel. Still a master's student. Well done, Martha. Oil painting. Gardener-in-chief. Ladies, anybody who's looking for landscaping services, there we go. Debbie is a gardener-in-chief. Wonder Woman, Andy. So you've got some serious superpowers there. A new mom again, Fundi, so congratulations. Yoga teacher. Ladies, you're going to meet this phenomenal lady, Tshepo, just now. And she's gonna teach us a thing or two about moving our bodies and just looking after ourselves. This is fantastic, guys. So, wow. I make a lot of snacks. I don't like it, but I've had to make a lot of snacks because when you're homeschooling, the babies just end up just eating a lot. So, I mean, with that said, it's normal to feel overwhelmed. You know, you can't keep giving from an empty cup. Like, we need to get to a point where we take our mental and emotional, in fact, our overall wellness just much more seriously if we haven't already started. So I'm going to be sharing with you just some of my own insights in terms of this journey, and I hope you will find it useful. Just remember that I am not authorized to diagnose, but please feel free to take what you need to from what comes out of this session. So for me, ladies, emotional wellness starts with the ability to recognize the feelings, right? So when you start feeling a type of way, recognize that feeling so that you know how to respond appropriately to it. And let's not take for granted that we have good and bad days. Nobody just lives through a bubble where everything is hunky-dory, everything happens the way that it should. I mean, if you look at some of these roles, carpenter, my goodness, just opened my own business in road construction, Google it. These things are intense, you don't just get on with it. And on some days you have really good days, some days you have a balance, but the minute you start feeling that there's a persistent change, so you've lost your spark, you become easily frustrated, you're overly emotional, recognize that, don't ignore the red flags, let us defend our emotional well-being, ladies. And I just want to share with you how this has worked out for me. Sometimes defending my emotional well-being looks like setting and reinforcing some of the boundaries that I already have, whether it's at home or in the office. And sometimes it's giving that emphatic no for an answer and being comfortable with whatever comes out of that, right? It's being intentional about booking your rest periods or time to just relax. Feng shui the heck out of your personal space. There's something so mind clearing about fixing up your space so that it works for you. Forgive, ladies. Forgive and ask for forgiveness. Sorry, I'm mixing up my words. Apologize and forgive. It's healing. They say that it's healing. Hydrate. Hydration has been proven to improve your mood, write things down, journal, doodle, do whatever you need to do. Just get it out of your system. And if anybody else has some special things that they figured out that just allow them that release, 𝗦𝗍𝗃 was talking about crying. Cry if you need to cry, but recognize what that crying does for you. Obviously, crying features across the spectrum, but if it makes you feel a bit better and you need to do it, now do it. My personal favorite is that of attending Zoom meetings. When you look at me up top, I'm properly put together, but you don't know what's happening underneath the table. I am easily in my leggings and my slippers, right? And it's comfortable. I do what I need to do. Just don't get caught like I was the other day when you need to return back into the office and then your regular work clothes are not as accommodating as the leggings and the slippers, and then you have a problem. So that's like the story of my life. I guess what I'm saying, ladies, is that if your emotional wellness is not in check, it has a knock-on effect on all other areas of your life. Pay attention to the signs. So the World Health Organization has given quite a good definition, an all-encompassing definition of what mental health is about. And I'm going to read it for you. So they've defined mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So simply put, it's all about how you cope in the spaces that you function within. And mental health is nothing to be made light of. And I've come to really appreciate that quite quickly in this time. So you must also remember that with mental health, it exists along a spectrum, right? On the one extreme, we are flourishing. You're doing whatever you need to do in line with the definition that I've just read out for you. And then on the other end, you're battling mental health disorders. And then there's everything else in between. So it's not just as easy as boxing people into this box and that box. And I want to encourage you to break the mold of the stigma that currently exists, where people are unable to speak about what they're going through, or people are too afraid to seek help. Seek help. Seek help. Seek help, and you will be in a better off position, and the professionals will be able to help you get through whatever you need to. But then again, for us who are in the process of breaking this stigma and speaking out and doing what we need to do, we need to continue to cultivate these healthy habits, you know, and I'm keen to hear what some of your healthy habits are that help you with your mental health. So for me, it often looks like, sorry, just getting myself right. When it gets overwhelming, pause, make smaller goals, and remember to breathe. Yeah. Take a break from social media. You don't always have to be on social media. When you come back again, you are able to go back to the last time that you checked in. You'll be able to catch up. Eat better, ladies. Exercise. Whether you're doing it because you want to look good or whether you're doing it for health reasons, the benefits are amazing. Exercise. In the half an hour that you have between Zoom meetings, take the time out and go and join a cosmic yoga class with your child, if that's what they're into. It does the world of difference for them. And you also then kind of diminish some of that guilt that most of us are living with, where you feel like you don't have enough time to spend with your child because you're spending so much time working at home and the boundaries are blurred. Do it. I guess what I'm saying to you ladies is whatever it is that you choose to do, just remember to show up and shine. So I think that's me, that's my piece. And I'm really interested to see what's coming through in the chat that we can unpack further. So I see Karabo agrees there with the social media part. You guys, social media does things to a lot of us. Darn those jeans, Lindy. Those jeans are a problem. I promise you, like I speak from experience. And you can't exactly wear leggings to work, right? Yeah. So thank you very much, ladies. That's me. Ziviwe. You think the starting point has to be where we make it part of the conversation, where we recognize mental health in our organizations and create platforms for those kind of conversations. I quite like that. And I almost want to put it out as a challenge to the ladies that are here, you know, in our different capacities and the different roles that we play in organization. Do you make it comfortable for the next person to reach out to you and say, I'm not having a good day, or I'm struggling with this, or I just need an outlet. I just need someone else to just hear me out a bit. Also, to revisit the strong woman narrative, release that. Thank you, Tshepo. Being vulnerable as well is a challenge because we have to show a brave face to the outside world. So what's wrong with not showing a brave face? I completely acknowledge what you're saying. We've been conditioned to feel like we need to show this brave face, but what's wrong with what we were saying earlier when Nikki was saying, I just cry. It doesn't take away from how competent you are or how great you are at what you do. Thank you very much.
Angela, can I say something quickly? Just
sure.
Hi, ladies. I think I'm Nikki and I'm the crier, okay? That Angela's referring to, because that's my thing. I'm the virtual assistant for Windsor, and every meeting I cry, and I'm just emotional. And I think actually I've become more emotional over the past year, 18 months, and it's probably to do with COVID. It's a lot of changes, and I used to be extremely extrovert, always out visiting people, meeting for coffees, meeting for breakfast. Breakfast, my favorite meal of the day, having champagne breakfast and everything. And of course, COVID stopped all of that, and it's turned me into a recluse. Okay, so much so that I actually don't want to go outside. I don't want to see other people. I just want to live in my bubble. Because why? Because I'm safe there. Because the more you look at social media and you see what's going on, and this friend's lost somebody and that friend's lost somebody, and it's like compounding, and you feel so overwhelmed, and you're like, oh, you know, if I stay in my bubble, I'm safe. But are you really? Because all you're doing is you're going inwards, and you're not expressing yourself. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so emotional, because I'm not having the chats with my girlfriends like I used to. Yes, you have chats with some friends, like virtually and over WhatsApp or whatever, but it's not those good solid chats that I think us women need to have with a girlfriend, where we can just release, where we can bitch about our husband, bitch about the children, you know, bitch about our boss, bitch about our colleagues, although I work by myself, so I'm bitching about myself and my personalities, but that's another story for another day. But I think what Angela says is right. You've got to find your release. I've been talking about this on my own social media quite a bit, because Bryony, who's our mentoring lead, and Raksha, both of them have been honoured me because I've been pushing myself too much with my business, to the point where I'm overworking myself. So I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I've got to deliver everything. I've got to be everything to everybody. And actually, do you really? You know, sometimes you've got to sit back and go, hang on a sec. I'm, like Angela said, I'm going to start pouring out of an empty cup. And if there's nothing left to give, there's nothing left to give, because I'm just trying to give a piece of myself to everybody else, and I'm forgetting about myself. So I think the key is to find what works for you, your best release, whether it's making the time to find a safe place and go and meet with a friend, and whether it's for a weekend where it's just the two of you, whether it's a virtual chat, sorry about the printer, whether it's laying in the bath and crying, which is what I do, watching a sad movie so I can really, really ugly cry, but to get those emotions out and know that it's okay. Yes, 𝗦𝗲𝗲, I know, you also do it, don't you? You also ugly cry in the bath or watch a movie and ugly cry. I know I'm not alone, but there we go. So it's all about finding what works for you in these challenging times, because they're just really strange, I think, and finding boundaries. My new headphones, so that my partner knows when he comes in and I've got these on, I'm busy with other people. He can't just speak to me and interrupt me. You know, you've got to set those boundaries. You've just got to find your space, find what works for you. If it means you've got to walk away, your family needs to understand, but it's communication at the end of the day. And I could ramble on forever and ever and ever and ever about this, so I'm going to hand over back to Angela.
Thanks very much, 𝗦𝗍𝗍. Thank you for really allowing yourself to be vulnerable in the space and say what you need to say. There are a few comments in the chat box that I want to get into, and I also see 𝗬𝗍𝗍, your hand is up. Do you go quickly? I'm going to go through the comments.
Cool, I'll be like 2 seconds. Hi guys, can everyone hear me?
Yes, see, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So no, I literally just wanted to kind of like make a comment in terms of what Tshepo said, revisiting the strong woman narrative, right? I'm currently doing that at the moment, and that's actually such a strong such a strong line in terms of that, because we feel like we want to constantly be in control, and you know, I'm a strong woman, so I shouldn't break, etc. And then Angela and everyone else speaks about it's okay to actually be vulnerable, it's okay to actually cry and whatnot. So I'm revisiting definitely that narrative of being a strong woman, and it's difficult, but I'm getting there. So I'm finding that if something hurts, I need to, you know, I need to be able to feel it, right? And then I watched and interestingly enough, I watched The Bold Type, because you know, when you're working from home and whatnot, on Netflix. Please try it, guys. It's absolutely amazing. And there's a quote that that really resonated with me a lot. And it says, you need to catch your breath, take an hour, fall apart, come back, and you're going to figure this out. And that has really just been a quote that has been very close to my heart, that I've actually been sharing with a lot of people. I mean, I spoke to Ange about it a few months ago, or a few weeks ago about it. And yeah, and I think it also starts with conversations like these, guys, where we're having these sort of conversations and we're creating the platforms of, let's speak about mental health, let's speak about mental wellness, let's talk about that it's not okay, like we're not okay. And that is absolutely awesome, that we're trying to figure out how to be moms, how to be teachers, how to be colleagues, how to be siblings or sisters and whatnot, or you know, all of those things that we're currently dealing with at the moment. Absolutely loving the content here, And yeah, I hope that everyone actually really enjoys it. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing the.
Thank you very much, Zee, and kudos to you. So carry on doing what you're doing. So Bryony here says she started writing love letters to herself to remind herself that she is lovable, she is worthy and loved even at the height of this isolation. She's also made some very brave decisions that put some boundaries in place. And she's reached out to friends all the time to support and be supported. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Bryony. Is it Ilonka? She says here that I think a lot of us have a bit of PTSD with COVID. Too scared to go out, friends and family lost. The son is also stressing about being back at school. People not following the COVID rules properly. So we've been replaced being social with work. Oh, we have replaced being social with work, and we need to break the mold. Okay, guys, this is powerful. Lindy Scott, I did this incredible 12-week program called The Artist Way. So every morning before you do anything, you write 3 these pages of a mind dump. You don't ever read it, but you start to notice what keeps coming up every day. This morning's practice has changed my life. Okay, shout out to Bryony. She needs a new journal. Wow, guys, I'm really enjoying the interaction. I really, really am. And I just want to thank you for sharing all of your stories, for sharing some of those uncomfortable situations or things that you feel like you are battling with. And you never know who's listening, who is going to get help from whatever it is that you are saying. So I encourage you to own your truth. You know, if you're suffering or you're battling with depression and anxiety and the more severe of the mental health disorders, get help. Get the help that you need. Help the people that you can see are struggling and reach out to them. We can direct you to professionals if you reach out after this, anything. But let's just continue this narrative. I'm going to end there. Thank you, guys.
Raksha, you can introduce our next
no
I don't
problem.
know if speaker because she's not going to speak.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Angela. We appreciate all of that, and thanks, ladies, for the discussion. Tshepo is going to share. She's a bit of a yoga guru, and she's going to share some of her tips and tricks that can possibly help us as well in terms of dealing with some of the mental, physical, and emotional strain. I mean, yoga is so powerful in so many different ways. So Tshepo, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. So I'm Tshepo. I don't know. I see a lot of you are sitting, so I don't know if you're set up to practice with me. But I will run through a few things and I will demonstrate. If you can hear me when I move a little further back to my mat, or can't, you'll just let me know. You know, I think it's so important, and fortunately, thank you, Angela, as well. So Angela, you touched on some critical things, and I sort of, when I was thinking about this, I thought about, you know, how important it is to take this moment to pause into being present, right? So what is very, very important in this is that I found, even before the lockdown, or like lockdown and the pandemic and everything else, we were always rushing. Right? We always rushed. We had to do this. We had to do that. So, like, you know, there's this whole narrative along with the strong woman, Lindy, about always being busy, hyper productive, and, you know, we're wonderful multitaskers. And now I think, you know, the curse and gift of having to pause in a lockdown situation that we've had to stop. We really have to stop and just take a moment to be with ourselves and sit with the discomfort and everything else. And I mean, also there's a huge discomfort that we're feeling physically because our bodies don't move as much as they used to. And it's so important to realize our bodies carry so much of our trauma, our stress, and everything else, and where it sits in the body. So what you'd have found now is that our hips from all the sitting, but also our hips are also the center of where we store a lot of our emotions. So you'll feel a lot of more tightness in your hips and everything else. Our necks, I basically say our shoulders are now our scarves, because most of us are here and we don't realize it, and we're sitting hunched over and everything else. So we're all like really, really like struggling here, which is sort of our heart center and everything else. The grief that we've all felt, right? Whether, you know, some of us have been fortunate enough to not lose anyone. I don't know anyone currently who's in that fortunate position. But, you know, those of us who've sat and the grief that sits in our lungs, I know, and that's where it sits in our body. Grief sits in our lungs. So, you know, you often feel like you can't breathe through it, but you actually physically, it's a physiological reaction. You can't breathe through it. So, you know, and we've all just had this moment over the past 18 months of holding our breath, right? And you feel this sort of suspense and this drawn in breath, and no one's actually had this wonderful exhale. We went through 2020 thinking 2021, but like 2021 came in stronger and dealt at us now. So, you know, it's really that much more difficult. So, you know, what I want to start with is just a few sort of moments of breath work that I find are quite a great release. Also, we're on screens the whole day, so our eyes are super fatigued. So it's really important, even if you take 10 minutes in your day, to just close your eyes. I know it sounds really ridiculous, but it's actually because you need the sensory shutdown. You know, I was a kiddies yoga teacher first before I became brave enough to teach adults. It took me about 5-7 years to decide to teach adults, but just being in child's pose, which I'll show you shortly, is so important, just to take the breath and shut down all our senses, right? So we're hyper-stimulated from a sensory perspective. Screen here, phone screen, TV screen, if some people are using TV as a kiddie nanny sometimes. And then there's all these sounds that we haven't really been used to. You know, it's wonderful being in our homes, and those of us who, you know, but it's just, you're surrounded by humans most of the time. I mean, I live by myself, but you know, we're just surrounded by more sounds than we're used to. And you really do need the sensory shutdown, which is a child's pose, which I'll show you now. So literally, all you do is knees, on your knees. You can either put a cushion underneath, sometimes if it's nice and comfortable for you. And then literally just take your forehead onto the floor. So as you see, my hands are out in front of me, and I'm actually balancing on my elbows, because we've had so much shoulder strain over the past few months or a year. Our shoulders are hunched over and they're actually a lot more sore. So you actually, instead of doing the stretched out child's pose with your hands out here, we often now advise to actually just lie here with your eyes closed and just relax into that child's pose. Or you might fall asleep, which is actually great. I prefer that you actually do that. And, you know, just take a moment and sit and breathe. So, you know, what has become so important is the meditative aspect of yoga lately. And people think when you meditate, I have to sit still for 10 minutes and, you know, shut out everything. You're not going to shut down your brain. It's not possible, right? But the fact that you took this moment of stillness, switch off the distractions, but also it's this whole thing of noticing and welcoming, right? So the thought will come, let it just walk past you, like your child will do during a Zoom meeting. That's really important. Board presentation. Let the thought do just that, and just welcome it in that moment. So what I also wanted to take us through some breathing techniques. So, you know, very critically. So what I love is a breath called 𝗦𝗦ci breath, which is like ocean breath. So it almost sounds like you're snoring out loud. And it's a deep inhale through your nose. And then you exhale through your nose while constricting the back of your throat. And sometimes when you're really riled up, it's such a great way to just release. And you just sit there and you're like, and I usually do that when I'm about to face a meeting with my boss, and, you know, I really need to find a deep centering moment and find my words, right? So I really love that. But what I also find is really important, and, you know, we sit in these like places of real frustration at the moment, and where there's a deep inability to express. So we were chatting about that strong woman narrative and everything else. And, you know, so we have presentations, we're teaching. I'm an aunt, so I've now become a geography teacher and a French teacher. I last did those things in high school. But you have to like bring yourself up to speed really quickly. But, you know, we sit through all these things, but we actually don't say how we feel, right? And this is what I loved when we started the conversation, Angela, about crying, because I always say to the kids, when I teach them, I say, you know, it's okay to cry. It's just your feelings coming out your eyes, right? Because sometimes we don't have the words to articulate the actual feeling. But, you know, those of you who've done yoga, and even those who haven't, you'll know of the chakras. And what breath work does, and this breath work I'm about to show you now, is it's very focused on the throat chakra and actually expressing. And it's called lion breath, which is also lovely since we're in Leo season. So again, this one is an open mouth breathing, right? So you take a deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, you stick your tongue out. I mean, you feel ridiculous. It's sensational. I quite like it. I mean, you get quite into it. So with the kids, it's like a roaring explanation. And I always advise that you do it at least 3 times, but you'll find like a deep unblocking. I often find it even in my ears, the deep unblocking all the way through. So your throat chakra, actually right into your heart chakra, because you almost want to open up into the shoulders and open up into this heart space, right? So that's also very important. So please, you know, if you do nothing else every day, just take a few deep breaths. You know, there's so many different kinds of breath work to go through, but I really would recommend lion's breath. It's definitely a favorite. I mean, there's some claws that come out that I do with the kids. So sometimes you take yourself all the way forward. It's actually, you just have to have fun with it, right? And you know, if you just give yourself a giggle at the end of the day, you know, we love to say in yoga that actually so many things are yoga. Like if you stand and are fully present in washing that 8,000th cup for the day, I live by myself, but I'm still super amazed how many dishes I can generate as one human. So just remember this pause in presence is a consistent thing, and that is actually yoga. And you've given yourself these 5 minutes, these 10 minutes, you know, while you wait for the kettle to boil is a wonderful time to practice some breath work, I would always say. And just, it's these deep breaths. So it's very diaphragmatic. So even if you just sit, and this is sort of our sacral chakra and our seat over here, just over your belly button, our seat of sort of self-esteem. And I think, I don't know if most of you have noticed, like that butterfly feeling, that nervous tension in your stomach. It's actually, you know, your body's response to just feeling so overwhelmed and anxious. And, you know, often a good deep breath work, the one that really like rattles me is breath of fire. But it's actually quite soothing. Do not do it if you're pregnant, have high blood pressure, are on your menstrual cycle and all those things. But sometimes it's really, it's like you breathe quite hard into your stomach. So your exhale comes as a sharp drawing in. So it's an inhale and exhale. And you'll find that your body actually heats up in the process, which is, it's actually quite a nice release. And at the end of it, you actually just have to do a deep inhale and an exhale. And I often, on that last exhale, I like to sigh it all out. Because again, release is so important, right? We hold so much in, and that this moment of release is actually so critical. Okay, and then just, you know, for those of us who are desk bound, which is a lot of us, you know, shoulder rolls are always important. So, you know, be hyper conscious, even when sitting at your desk, draw your navel towards, nice there, Raksha, I saw it. Hold your navel towards your stomach and towards your spine, I mean, and just make sure that you keep this line in. Just, you know, you'll feel as the day progresses and everything else comes up, your shoulders rise up to meet the strain. So, you know, even if you're consciously just rolling your shoulders back and down. So often I like to just hold your hands over your knees and shrug up towards your ears, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears, and then exhale, drop them back and down. And then inhale again, drawing a deep inhale, letting your stomach expand. And as you exhale, drop your shoulders back and down. And then inhale, we reverse the motion, shoulders up, forward and down. I mean, you'll be hearing some pretty crunchy sounds. Inhale, and as you exhale, drop your shoulders forward and down. Inhale, exhale again, drop your shoulders forward and down. And then, you know, another nice one I like to do, because our side bodies are all very tight at the moment. Everything's tight from here up, right? And, you know, Angela, I don't know when I last time wore pants. Leggings are definitely the call of the day. I don't know if I'm going back. What I also find quite nice is sort of a side stretch where you walk your hand. So I'm using my left hand out to the side, raise our right hand up and over, and just open up into the heart space. Keep your top arm parallel with the ground, remembering again, draw those shoulders down your back, and then we roll over onto the other side, opening up into the heart space again, just letting that space flow through your upper body, right? And then for those of us who are always on computers, I love a little cat and cow. So your knees are in line with your hips, and there's a special trick I do. Just look in between your knees, between your thighs, and see if you can see your feet. If you can, just make sure that you take them a little out to the side so that you're in a straight line. So hands again, your wrists are under your shoulders, and then we take a deep inhale, dropping our chest down, opening up into the heart space, rolling our shoulders back for cow. Then you tuck our chins and push away from the floor for a wonderful cat stretch up into our upper backs and our shoulders. Then inhaling, dropping our tummy again, opening up into our throat chakra once again, dropping our chins, pushing back into cat. Now, again, if we're in our offices again, and not even our office, at our desk the whole time, this is a wonderful wrist stretch. I know it looks a bit scary, but you turn your hands where your fingers now face your knees, right? And then again, lean back as far as you can. You will feel this wonderful stretch. Only go as far as you can, right? So mostly when you start out, you'll stop here. But make sure like you're basically high-fiving the mat, so your fingers are nice and wide, and your weight is across all your fingers, and you push into your wrist and lean back. It's such a wonderful stretch along the forearm and along the wrist, especially if we spend our time sitting and typing. And then what's also important, because we're sitting all the time, we're going to again come into this neutral spine box shape, tuck your toes underneath, take a deep inhale, and just raise your knees a little bit off the floor for a wonderful core warm-up and stretch. Inhale and exhale for a few seconds, and then drop your knees down. Yeah, no, we're not at minutes. And then I do love a downward dog. So from here, we push back into a nice downward dog, just letting your head hang heavy, eventually encouraging your heels to reach the floor. Make sure that the weight of your hands is in the outside of your baby finger and to your thumb and across the base of the wrist. And then very gently, you can walk your hands back towards your feet, grab your alternate elbows, drop your head down, let your neck hang nice and heavy, and then just swing from side to side. This position has been known to cure or help when you're feeling quite anxious, and you know, if done repeatedly, apparently they said about like a number of days and months, even if you have mild depression, it's known to help ease that a little. So it's very important just to invert yourself, and then very slowly to bend your knees, rolling up one vertebra at a time, coming up into standing. And then again, for our hips again, I would recommend you stand, so just mat width apart, your toes face out and your heels face in, so you're almost in that position with your feet. Then you take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, you come down into what is called Malasana. So I would recommend put your hands on the floor as a start, so that, you know, and you can sit and rock from side to side, just opening up in those hips. It's pretty brutal when you first start, but you actually feel such a great release into the hips, which is so important. And then take your left hand back and then your right hand and come to sit. again, because we spend all our time sitting, it's very important to activate into the legs. Stretch your legs nice and long in front of you. Sit and make sure you're sitting on your sitting bones. And then we stretch out slowly. So I always say lead nipples first, right? So it's the easiest way to explain it, right? Bend your knees so we don't hyperextend to the knees. So we must always be conscious of our joints. And this is what is so wonderful about being at home, is that you get this time, or you think you do, but you make this time. So we roll slowly, nipples first. And then everything comes, and hold where you can, your shin, your ankles, just under your knees. And then just drop your head forward, rolling those shoulders back, tucking your chin in, just making yourself comfortable as possible in that stretch. And then finally, we can do a butterfly, which again is a lovely hip opener. So place your feet together, soles of your feet touching. And then again, hold, again, lead chest, open heart first, towards your knees as far as you can, towards your feet as far as you can go. Just again, feeling that wonderful release along the inner thigh. And then the most important yoga pose, but before we get there, you lie down your back, and I'm going to show you happy baby, it's my favorite. Okay, so lie down, you take your right knee into your right armpit, hold the outside of your right foot, feet are parallel with the ceiling. Again, left knee into your left armpit. This is called happy baby. And then you rock from side to side. Nothing greater. This will bring you a lot of joy, especially if you have children. It's also a wonderful way to play. And it just actually calms them down. And then the most important yoga asana is Shavasana, or corpse pose, right? So your head, your body, your feet just flop out to the side, your arms to the side of your body, and then you just close your eyes and slowly wind down, release that very conscious breathing, and just let your natural breath flow. And then slowly, when you come out of Shavasana, bend your knees, roll over to one side, slowly coming up to sitting. And so that is sort of a brief thing. So Shavasana, even if you just lie down and do Shavasana, it's more than enough. It's that wonderful just sitting in silence. And, it's wonderful to set an intention for your practice and your day as you start. And I think when we think of presence, set an intention, just a simple one, and I am, and just repeat this to yourself 3 times at the beginning and at the end of your practice. And just, release, and don't, thank your body for all it's done in the day. You do the most. And I think we often overlook this fact, and it's just so important with everything going on. This pause actually just gives so much back into you, right? So you actually plow that much more back into your soul and yourself, and you can carry on and give that much more when you've replenished yourself on the inside. So I think it's very important to take these conscious moments just to pause and be with yourself. Thank you.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you, Tshepo. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sure we've all learned many, many tips, and there's almost no excuse now for any of us to continue saying that we can't take a couple minutes. And I think everybody will appreciate corpse pose. It's probably the only quiet time we might get in a day, to be honest. Ladies, do we have any other questions? Does anybody want to share anything? Anyone would like to either ask Angela or Tshepo anything?
Me.
Anybody? Yes, go for it next.
Me, sorry. Oh, I did unmute myself. Tshepo, I just want to ask you, because I've been doing this a few days now, and actually I found that I'm sleeping better as well. And I actually saw it on social media. Sorry, Angela. I saw it on social media. And I tried it, and it really helps. And especially for people who are sitting at their desk all day. So basically, so if this is your body, this is you're lying on your back. So this is your back, okay? and these are your legs up against the wall. Okay, and you lie like that for about 20 minutes, just breathing, just being. And what it does is it helps with circulation, it helps getting your heart pumping, it helps with oxygen flow, it helps to de-stress, and it actually supposedly helps with sleeping. And I can definitely vouch for that one because I've been sleeping better. Have you found that, Tshepo?
Okay, so that is one of my favorite. I actually wanted to do it, but then I was like, a wall and everything else, it's just complex maneuvering. So legs up the wall is one of the best and most restorative yoga poses, right? So it's actually an inversion. And what I wanted to say about inversions and why they're so important, especially to de-stress and sort of decompress and everything else, is because when your heart is lower lower than your lower body, it just somehow there's a physiological thing that happens that de-stresses. So I would definitely recommend legs up the wall to anyone. You can do it for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of legs up the wall. Even if you start your day like that, is a great way to do it. I would recommend 3 to 5 minutes, legs up the wall, then go into a little Shavasana when you come out. And sometimes even put your legs in a sort of diamond shape. So like where your feet come to touch is also quite restorative. I would recommend Cactus Arms because what happens when a lot of us are feeling quite emotional is that your arms get quite sore. So instead of lying out in a T shape with your arms, do Cactus Arms. I also think they're quite fun. It's like you're just like having a little party for one. Cactus Arms, which is, and it gives a bigger release and you don't overstretch and overcompensate, but legs up the wall, even if it all gets too much, put your children in it, put your husbands in it, put your spouses in it. It's just a wonderfully restorative pose. And then you can flex your feet, turn your ankles, and then just let your feet flop out to the side eventually. I mean, you may fall asleep, be careful for that one. It's been known to your legs to come tumbling forward, but I would highly recommend legs up the wall.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else? I think, ladies, if you would be able to share maybe your social media handles or something so that people could connect with you if they would like to. Maybe you can just enter it into the chat box. That would be very helpful. And we will also share details on our YouTube channel when we upload this of how to reach out to either Angela or Tshepo. Not sure if anybody else has any other questions, comments.
I just want to say how divine it was to get together with a group of wonderful women during the day. It's been, we normally do these events in the evening when we're all really tired and we're kind of burnt out, but to actually have the opportunity to chat to each other in the middle of the day and then get back to work has been feeling really energized and rejuvenated and connected, and been lovely. So thank you to the four of you for making this happen.
No, thank you. And this was our first tea time talk ever. So it was just a wild idea that we had, and we thought, let's just try it. And I think I was initially expecting just 4 people, maybe. So this is wonderful to see so many people as well. And if this is something maybe that, ladies would like, and we can do more of these, not necessarily just about Women's Month, but if people have any suggestions on ideas or topics, I would love for Tea Times Talk to be something that we do on a fairly regular basis. Please, guys, just drop us a message, whether it's on any of our social media platforms, or if you can reach out to any one of us, or even just in the chat box right now, that would be really, really great. And thank you for joining us. It was really wonderful. Angela, Tshepo, thank you so much. My big 2 takeaways would be, I'm definitely going to do an ugly cry, that's for certain. And nipples first. It's happening. Definitely. Before we disappear, Bryony, can we do a group photo? Maybe we can do Cactus Arms.
Well, Cactus Arms and lion breathing, I think.
I think so.
I mean, that's like Maori as you get, right?
Ladies, if you would be brave enough to switch on cameras, we would love to post something on social media.
Okay, so we've got 3 screens, so I'm going to have to do this 3 times, and I don't know who's on what screen, so you're going to have to hold your Cactus Arms and lion breathing for 3 versions of this. So get ready and do your best version ever. Okay, I want to see lion breathing.
Really, really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you all soon. 𝗦𝗲𝗧 still has another session coming up, which you'll see on social media with regards to our mentors masterclass. And hopefully we have another tea time talk soon. So let us know. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Tshepo. Really appreciate it. Have a lovely afternoon, ladies. Bye.
Well done,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.